right, mate. Right, everybody. I'd like to welcome Ian Harrison, IFBB Pro, and WWE. Was it you wrestled for a while?
XWF. I did a bit of WWE stuff, and then a company called XWF here in Florida. Yeah.
Right. Junior Mr. Universe at 19.
Yes.
Go on. I can't remember half your titles. Can you?
You know what? I was thinking about that right before. I nearly had to pull my bio up on Google to find out what year I did what. Yeah, I won the Junior Mr. Britain and Junior Mr. Universe in '88.
That's when I first met you, when you did the photo shoot.
I was born in '69. And then, yeah, that was the same year Dorian won BB British and made a big splash. So yeah. I decided to switch federations, as did Eddie, and we all went to British Championships. First time I'd ever been. Qualified at Oldham. And then went to British, and unbelievably, I can't believe I won it, to be honest with you, even looking back now, especially with politics, how it is and was, and I got lucky, you know, and I won it. I won the heavyweight and I won the overall, and I turned pro at 20. And then I decided to take 4 years off.
That's got to be one of the youngest pros ever, 20-year-old.
I think so. Lee Priest was young, and I think Casey Viator was really young. But out of England, I think I'm the youngest. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how old like Flex Lewison was when he turned pro, because I kind of lost touch with this scene for a while, you know.
Yeah, well, I think most that have been in a while lose touch after a while.
Yeah.
So, how heavy were you on stage when you took the British? When you took your pro card?
I'll never forget weighing in, because our kid Neil, we got weighed in, and I was like 10 pounds lighter than I thought I was going to be. I was only about 216, 220, maybe 220, maybe around 220. When I turned pro, and I'm over 6 foot, so that's not really that big.
But, no, I mean, I remember seeing you after the Junior Universe,
right?
And you looked monstrous. I mean, you walked in Maloney's gym for that photo shoot, and I was just like, because you're only 2.5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck can he be that big and only be 2 years older than me?
It was, you know, it was a fun time. I mean, I force fed myself, honestly. When I started training at 15, with a massive chip on my shoulder in my garage at home, freezing my nuts off, and my hands sticking to the bars, I was very driven. When I look back, I look at a lot of kids now, and I'm like, they're in their 20s and they're not as driven as I was when I was 15. I was just, you know, I was very, very driven. You know, it's that mentality we've got from where we're from, I guess.
And, it very much seemed to be, I don't know if it was a national thing, but definitely strong round us. I mean, we're both from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And we know a lot of the same people. We grew up with a lot of the same people. So there was definitely a mentality of sort of, if it's hard, make it harder, and if you've passed out, shut the fuck up, get up and do another one, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
It was really proper old school balls to the wall training, and there was definitely more of an emphasis on training than there were on drugs.
Absolutely.
Training was definitely the thing that came first, and how hard you trained was your mantle for where you were and how you were respected. I mean, we grew up in the area of Billy Payne, Kev Taylor, and then some of the lesser known local nutters.
Exactly.
Bob Kirk, I don't know if you remember Bob Kirk, used to compete at the Yorkshire quite a lot.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
But everybody had that same mentality, just training and training and training until you puked, and then getting up and training again.
Yeah. It was a proper warrior mentality, and it was about, you earn respect, you don't give in it, you earn it.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of those guys were very tough guys too. I mean, they weren't just tough in a gym; they were tough men.
Yeah. It was definitely an era where if you didn't bench 4 plates, and you weren't regarded as being able to bench at all.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I remember the first that in Pudsey, I was 15 years old, and there was a couple of lads, the Bellhouse brothers, and the older one, Carl, lives in Pudsey, and he used to go drinking on a Saturday, stagger into the gym, shit-faced drunk, put 4 plates aside on, rep 6 reps out, and go back to the pub. I mean, that's the type of people that I was around.
Yes, very much so. So, when did drugs come into play?
The first time I took anything was my qualifier before the Junior Britain. So that'd have been the Junior UK, under 21 UK. I got.
So how old were you?
Yeah, I got second to Thomas Eves, and then the week after I went to Batley Frontier Club, and I won that EFBB show there. And I'd already qualified for the Junior Britain, and then that was the first time I took anything. And then up to the Junior Britain was the first proper one I went on, and then obviously up to the following year I basically did regular cycles like we knew back then. And
so I take it was
a little bit modified up to the British. But I've actually got, I dug out because I knew you'd ask. I got diaries of every year I ever competed, and I've got every single meal. I don't log every workout, but I log the way I train and or poundages. But everything I ever did is written down every day.
So, what were your sort of dosages like running up to the Junior Universe? I mean, just for example, I'm more looking at a comparative of what people tend to run today, because back then you lit the bodybuilding world alight at 19-year-old and being the size you were.
Yeah, I got accused of taking a lot more than I did, to be honest with you. I think.
Well, I don't think knowing Paul Borison helped that, but he did it.
Well, Paul Borison was a little bit out there, but I didn't meet Paul until a lot later on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Up to the Junior Britain and the Junior Universe, it was really the people around me, immediately around me. Like there was a guy called Cal Beaumont who used to compete in the seniors, and he got me into my first show in Nabba, and I just fed off the people in the gym, and I did a lot of reading. I asked a lot of questions. I was probably a pain in the ass to a lot of people because I asked a lot of questions, and I never did it because, you know, Joe Blow told me to. I needed to know why. A bit like you.
Yeah.
I didn't just do it because he said it was a good thing to do. I wanted to know the reason why it worked, how it worked, and if I didn't understand it, I didn't do it. And I'll be honest with you, my whole career, it scared me. It always scared me. Not to the point where I wouldn't do it, but I never took it lightly. I always took it seriously. I knew it wasn't something to play with, and just more is better type attitude, you know.
And do you think that's something that's kept you? I mean, a lot of guys now retired FBB pros aren't of the best of health. And do you feel it's
I've been very lucky like that. I've been very lucky, but I retired at 28 too, Dave. You got to understand. I mean, I probably, a lot of my friends said that I didn't take enough, and I could have gone further if I'd have taken more. I don't know if that's true, but I retired at 28, and I was still young. My body can still recover from any damage that I potentially done.
So yeah, true.
I think I was lucky to get out early, realize where I was or wasn't going in the sport, and I just decided enough was enough. And I mean, I had a few rough years, not health-wise, more mental-wise, coming from where I was to, you know, going from bodybuilding to wrestling wasn't an easy transition. And then I had to walk away from that eventually when I realized that was worse than bodybuilding. So it was tough, but, you know, I've been very lucky, but I think a lot of it's down to the age that I actually stopped competing.
So, go on then. How much were you using running into the Universe Juniors?
I don't have that written down here, but off of memory,
roughly,
it's your basic traditional cycles. I mean, like Sust and Decker together for maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning, and then it'd be mainly like Prima Depot, probably an oral, like 4 weeks out it'd be Anavar, but before that it'd be Dianabol. I don't think I used Anadrol that young. I was older when I used that. And then we'd use like Nolvadex to dry up and, you know, avoid bitch tits and stuff like that. Into the show, I don't think, the only thing I would do is I'd stay away from long-based.
Go fast-acting.
Long-acting, you know, long half-life stuff and go to faster-acting stuff as I got closer, stuff I didn't have water. I remember using Equipoise 4 weeks out too, We used to use that a lot up to shows, but not high dosages. Probably, I think equipoise was like 250 or 300 milligrams. It was quite a high dose, and we'd probably do it every 5 days, one every 5 days. Prima Depot would be probably one every 3 or 4 days, and then your orals would be daily, maybe up to 5, maybe up to 8 a day.
So you're only talking 50, 80 milligrams, which a lot of guys on the first cycles are banging more than that in.
Well, I've heard that, but I don't really know what people do now. I really don't, you know.
I mean, I've pushed my luck. I mean, I deliberately pushed my luck. I wanted to see how far I could go, how high I could go, and what would happen.
Right.
Stupid, possibly, but the only way I was going to learn was to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, from what you're saying, you're looking at total gear usage of 1 gram to 1.5 grams a week max.
Yeah, but it worked. You know, I think a lot of it's down to how you work. Like,
do you think a lot of it's down to how hard you trained as well, though? Do you think it's the real key factor that was that mentality you had in the gym?
I trained very hard and I force-fed myself. Literally, I used to call it. I used to put a nose bag on and blinkers on, and I was going. You know, I force-fed myself to the point where I would throw up, and then continue to eat. There was a story that was online when I used to tell with Paul Borison, where I was taking 120 desiccated liver tablets a day, staggered out 20 per meal. And one night after I'd been working at YB digging all day with our kid, I came home and I'd forgotten to take them all day. So I sat there and took 120 double strength desiccated liver tablets, one after another.
Those fucking things stunk.
And they were rough as fuck. They were like big bastards too. You need to lie down easy. You know what I mean? You couldn't pull 4 or 5 in it. It was one at a time.
Yeah, it was.
So I banged all them down. I'd had my ice cream. I'd had my steak and everything. And then I sat bottle upright in bed like Exorcist, projectile vomited across my bedroom. I was 17, 18 years old. You know, I was young, so I couldn't afford to lose all that money. So I'm sifting through my vomit, pulling the tablets out. My mum walks in. They think I'm mental. So they're actually talking one night about calling a psychiatrist when I was 17, thinking I've lost the plot. All I'm thinking is I can't waste that protein. I need that protein, not Jay.
Funny you say this. I had a conversation, and we mentioned him earlier on, Bob Kirk. Bob was renowned for being a bit of a grumpy bastard when he was dieting, to say the least. But we were having a conversation about people and dieting now, and he said he remembers seeing a lad in the gym who spilt some rice on the floor. And Bob went, "You can eat that?" And he went, "No, it's been on the floor." And he just turned around, "Well, you're not dieting then, are you?" Because he says, when I was dieting, I'd be on the floor licking that up.
Absolutely. It meant everything, didn't it? Every grain. I'd be licking my bowl clean. So yeah, I mean, for Universe and Britain, it was pretty basic stuff. But I think the reason why everybody thought it was more is because that was really the first time I'd taken anything. I qualified before that, so my body responded really well. And you got to remember, at 17, I had major knee surgeries on both knees. I was squatting silly heavy, really young. Most of my training partners were powerlifters when I first started.
But you were actually quite strong as well. I mean, you weren't just a big lad. You were actually a strong lad with it.
Yeah, people never thought that because of the way my physique looked. But yeah, I was pretty strong. I mean, I was stiff leg deadlifting 6 plates a side. I was incline benching 5 plates a side. I was shoulder pressing 200-pound dumbbells. I was flying 190s, 180s.
There's that picture of you and Nasser El Sombati, I think, isn't it, with the 200-pound dumbbells that was in flex? Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And Chris Lund, the bastard, said that I didn't get him up because what happened was I had 2 guys on each side handing dumbbells in.
They were big numb things, weren't they?
Oh yeah, they were long because they were plates, so there's air gap in them. They're not solid, you know what I mean? So they're really long. And these guys let go, but these guys didn't. So I'm holding 200 pounds like that, and it felt like I tore my rear delt. So when I tried to push it, I couldn't get it up, and I've been repping with those all year. So I was fuming. And Chris Lund knew it, so he put it in flex that I couldn't get him up just to piss me off. It was quite funny, actually. But yeah, I was strong. Nasser was strong, though. Nasser was super strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a really good work ethic. I remember at the end of that photo shoot, we did a pec deck, and it was like a 300-pound stack, and he played with it like it was nothing. And I mean, I got it out, but I didn't play with it like he did. You know what I mean? He was a strong boy. Very strong boy.
You win your pro card.
Yeah.
You've qualified. You win your pro card. So what happens next?
Well, I realised. I think that was. I mean, Dorian was coming in then. The standard was very high. Flex Wheeler was coming in. There was a lot of good guys around, and I realised that I wasn't at the caliber. I was 20 years old. For Christ's sake, you know what I mean? I was still a young lad, so I knew I needed to stop working for the YB and digging holes all day because I couldn't really do that and build a world-class physique. So I decided to quit that job and open my own gym. So I opened a gym in Pudsey, and I basically trained for 2.5, 3 years, putting size on to get ready for my pro debut. And I decided that we're going to be at Night of the Champions in New York. So I dieted down. I was looking really, really, really good. Got everything together. Ended up taking some bad advice and nearly killed myself and didn't go on stage. And that kind of set the tone for my pro career, to be honest with you. But
did you mind telling us what you took?
Aldactone. Too much Aldactone. I got
basically severely dehydrated yourself.
Yeah, I nearly died. I remember I got advice to take 300 milligram a day for 3 days, and it scared me because I'd only ever taken like 50 milligrams. My body's sensitive to things. I think that's why I got away with taking low dosage of anything. My body reacted to small amounts, you know. I get drunk on one beer, you know. I don't know if it's just how my body. It's just how my body is.
How you?
Yeah, I'm a cheap day. But yeah, I took. So I decided I was going to take 200 milligrams of Aldactone a day for 2 days. The morning of the show, I woke up and I literally rolled out of bed. Couldn't even support myself. I couldn't tense any muscle. I was shaking. I called up a friend and I decided I was going to go walking down Broadway. Took 8 ephedrine, walked down middle of Broadway, to try and get everything going. Came back, collapsed in the foyer, and my parents actually landed from England, walked through the revolving doors with me on the floor with IVs in me. So Wayne D'Amelia pulled me out of that show, and then later that year, Dave Lister, who owned Atlas Nutrition, was with Wayne D'Amelia. He was sponsoring that English Grand Prix that year, and they basically told me I had to do the show. I didn't want to, but they told me I had to.
Now, I've heard this in the past that back then the WIDA contracts were pretty severe. If you didn't show for a show, you got penalised quite heavily.
Yeah, he did, but I didn't have a WIDA contract then.
Right.
I didn't get a WIDA contract till I did the Olympia in '95.
Because I know Sean Davis has said this. He says one of the reasons why he fucked his kidneys was he knew he was ill, he knew he was problems, but he couldn't afford to literally pull out of the show he was doing because of the fines he was going to get.
Yeah, there were heavy fines because I know when I nearly went, I got in trouble for road rage 1 year, and I was really scared that part of my contract, if I got convicted and sent down, which it was a very strong possibility at the time, I would have to pay back all my sponsorship money at the end of a 3-year contract, and that just sunk me. So I was worried. So yeah, I've never had a problem of having to pull out of a show except for an injury on one show, but I never earned that much money from it, to be honest with you. I mean, I had a decent little contract, and I made money from guest spots. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was good fun, but you just got to know when to bow out, don't you?
You know? So when did you meet Paul?
Paul Borison. I met Paul Borison through Kerry Kayes in Manchester. Character, indeed.
Yes. Madman or genius or a mix of both?
I think all geniuses are slightly mad. You're probably slightly mad too, right?
Well, you can say that after what I've done to myself, I suppose so, yeah. I wouldn't say I was a genius, though.
I think it's a fine line, but I do think he was a very clever man. I just think it was a little bit too extreme. I mean, I remember him. I spent a lot of time with Paul, travelled with him a lot, and a lot of the advice he gave me went in one ear and out of the other. I'd look at his cycles and I'd go, okay, not doing that, not doing that, not doing that, and I'd pick and choose what I did. Because I heard
a quote that you'd once said, yeah, I listened to what Paul said and then dropped it by about a quarter and did a quarter of what he said.
Yeah, that's about right, to be honest with you. Yeah. It was a bit out there. His theories were like do or die, and unfortunately, look how that ends up. It's
it's a shame that to some degree he seemed to start to believe is because there was an element of Paul that was showman and bullshit and marketing and all that crap. And it seemed to be towards the end he started to believe that shit.
Yeah, it definitely changed. But I think the drugs had a lot to do with that.
He had some issues with medicational drugs as well, didn't he? As well, did Paul at the end?
I don't know the full story. I just know I remember doing a seminar in with Trevor Smith, Chris Sneddon, and Paul Borison in California.
Oh, I remember Figsy. Chris, thank you, heck, yeah. Chris was one ugly man.
Chris was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. I spent a lot of time with him. And I actually split up him and Trevor Smith from having a full-out brawl. And that would have been an interesting sight because they were two big dudes.
They were two, and Chris was capable. Chris had a reputation, a well-earned reputation for being capable, yeah.
Chris was he's Figs, right? His nickname was Figs. So yeah, Figs will give you the shits.
Yeah.
No, Chris was a great guy. And I mean, you know, I remember Paul DeMayo coming around one day. I mean, I've been in rooms with people where I'm the only one that's still alive. It makes you
That's
think.
A sobering thought, is that, Ian?
Yeah, I know. And I've been in a lot of those situations. When I wrestled, one of my best friends was Mike Hegstrand, Hawk, out of Road of Warriors. And Luke, the Bushwhacker Luke, they're my best friends. And I traveled all over. We traveled to the Bahamas. We traveled all over America, everywhere. We were in Vegas together. And then when Hawk died, I was at his funeral. I'd been to 9 funerals that year. 9 funerals in 1 year. And when I went to that funeral, I just turned out to my wife. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done.
You've got to start questioning your career when everyone that works in it starts dying around you, haven't you?
It's not coincidence, is it?
No, it's not. No, not at all. So
I digress. I apologise.
No, it's interesting stuff, mate. It really is. I mean, you've led an extraordinary life, and you've met some of the most amazing characters within this community that people will never meet. The likes of Nasser. I mean, there'll never be another Nasser.
No, there were. He was a great guy. Oh yeah.
And I mean, what was he like? Because he's one we don't really hear a lot about.
He was a very private person.
He was a big man, though, wasn't he? I mean, he was a monster when it came to actual physical size.
He was the biggest man I've ever seen. I remember the only Olympia I ever did, the '95 Olympia. I was backstage. There was one tiny mirror. I'm looking at everybody, thinking, "Shit, how do I compare to these guys?"
Yeah, I'm out of my league here.
You know, you don't know how you look until you see yourself.
Did you feel like that? Did you always feel like you were a little bit of the underdog? Did you always look at yourself as being a lot less than those around you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was younger than most of them. I want in the clique. I want in the mix. I didn't have anybody pushing me. I didn't have any.
Were they idols to you as well? I mean, were these people that you looked up to?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm backstage with Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levereux, and I've got interesting stories about Flex Wheeler. But these guys I'd looked up to in the magazines, and I idolized them. I mean, and then you're going to stand on stage with them, and it's nerve-wracking. But you don't want to embarrass yourself. You want to compete. You don't want to not be competitive. And when I saw myself in the mirror with Vince Taylor and Kevin Levereux, and I'm like, okay, I might not beat him because it's Vince Taylor and Kevin Levereux, but I can stand with these guys. I'm confident I can hit every pose with them. Especially
you're not embarrassing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. They're not going to out-muscle me. That they might be better quality than me. I'm a little bit younger than them, but I can stand with them. And then Nasser walked in, and my mouth fell open. It was like a bus walked through the door. From the side, his delts were like somebody's legs. I've never seen a man so big. I mean, that year, people don't give him credit for this. That year, he dwarfed Dorian. That's the year Dorian came down in body weight. He came in really tight that year. We didn't get the memo, by the way. None of us got the memo. We were all trying to come in big. Dorian came in super tight. Yeah, I must have missed that email. I missed the call, but anyway, and Nasser beat everybody at the current game, and then the game got changed. But yeah,
you mentioning that now and about not getting the email, did you genuinely feel there was some almost pre-planning in that?
What do you mean by that?
In that there was knowledge that i.e. from IFBB to with Dorian, that he was coming in tight that year and that was the look they were going to go for that year? Or do you think he just presented a package that was different?
Yeah, I just think he presented a package that was different, but we were all chasing what had won the year before.
Yeah.
You know, got to remember with internet, it's different. You find out today what someone was looking like. Back then,
wasn't around back then, really, was it?
You found out 3 months later, and then you had 3 or 4 months to do something about it, and then a year had gone by. You know, I mean that's kind of how it was. So we were chasing the previous year's package, and Dorian was I've got nothing but respect for Dorian's physique. He's an incredible physique, but I don't think at the last few years of his career he was unbeatable. I think there was a lot of good bodybuilders out then, and it was like apples and pears. It depends what you preferred, you know. But there was guys that were just as big, just as round, just as full. They didn't have some of the qualities that he had, but just like you say, apples and oranges, he didn't have the qualities they had either. So it depends what you liked and what you didn't like.
Well, it is a subjective sport at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, you're asking
absolutely
a panel of people's opinions on what is the best physique. It's not like a race where there's a clear winner.
And then that's what's frustrating about it. You know, it's not like you've lifted it or you haven't lifted it a certain way or you've passed the line first. And that's what's frustrating about it. But I still love it. It's bodybuilding. I love it. How can you not love it? It is what it is. But yeah, so, I could look at a lineup before I compete and I could tell you who's going to be in the top 6 before I saw them. But I think most times you can with most shows. You know, it's who's getting the publicity, who's touted as the favourites, and usually even if they're coming off, they're still going to place where they're going to place.
So what you're basically saying that politics plays a massive role and marketing plays a massive role in the placings in the pro circuit.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, did you experience that personally?
Yes.
Did it affect you? Were you ever told you wouldn't get above a certain place, or?
Well, for that my pro debut, what turned out to be my pro debut with the English Grand Prix in '93, I think it was, when I'd pulled out of the Night of the Champions earlier that year. I got put on the phone to Wayne D'Amelia in Dave Lister's house, and I said, I really don't want to compete, Dave. I said, I've just come off this incident where I nearly died, and I want to put some size on, and I want to compete next year. He says, well, if you don't compete, he said, I can't guarantee that you'll be able to compete in the shows you want to do next year when you want to compete. So he basically told me I had to compete, otherwise I won't. He won't put.
You're not getting a show next year, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. And then the rest of it, I never really asked him again because after that show, I felt like I should have placed a lot higher. They actually called me and Charles Claremont out for a direct comparison in that show, and why would they do that if they didn't think I was up there? And it's ironic because Dave Lister, this is another instance, this is my pro debut. Dave Lister sponsored that show. He didn't show up to pay Wayne D'Amelia the money on the day of the show. So backstage, Wayne D'Amelia is harassing me, asking me where Dave Lister is. And I'm like, Dave, Wayne, I'm about to walk on stage. It's my pro debut. I'm shitting myself. And he goes out there, and if you look in the history books, every Grand Prix, top 6 place, right? That's how they used to do it. The top 6 always placed. That year, they placed the top 5. I got 6th. They didn't call me back on stage. The whole crowd started booing. Half the crowd got up and walked out. And Mike Quinn got on stage and made a speech. I've got a video of it somewhere. But you can ask Mike. And he started talking about his comeback. He was making a comeback.
I speak to Mike, and then how he is bonkers, but in a nice way.
yeah, absolutely. I love him to death. I asked him about it. But he got on stage and he starts having a speech, and then half the crowd starts shouting, "What about Ian Harrison? What about Ian Harrison?" And he says, "I don't know." He said, "Me and Ian are really good friends. We go back a long way." He said, "Oh, fuck it." He says, "Ian should be up there. I don't know what the fuck they're looking for. It's all bullshit." And then just stormed off stage. And that was at the English.
Good old Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Typical Mike. That was my pro debut. And I went up to Wayne D'Amelia and Lisa Frost Larson the day after at the hotel. And I said, "Could you explain to me why I got 6th place?" He says, "Well, you know, Flex and Kevin were in good condition." I said, "No, they weren't in good condition." I said, "Charles was." I said, "But I was in equally as good a condition as both Flex and Kevin, so why didn't I place higher?" He says, "Well, they presented themselves in such a way that they looked leaner." I said, "Come on, Wayne, you're 10 feet away. You know who's lean and who's not lean." I said, and at that point, my wife basically grabbed my hand, told me to stop like she always does. I walked away and I never asked the judge another thing again. Oh, actually, I did. I once asked a judge, an English judge actually, at the Olympia, why I didn't place in the top 10. And I got told my legs were too big. That's at the Olympia. Your legs are too big. So I said, wait a minute, this is the Olympia. You mean my upper body's too small? She said, no, your legs are too big. So yeah, I didn't have much camaraderie with judges. I wasn't their favourite because I didn't do as I was told.
What was, yeah, no, you and Mike too. You're off chip of the old block with that one. What was it like backstage? What was the camaraderie like? I mean, I've heard loads, and I'm not wanting dirt tales on other athletes. I'm not interested in that. That's just not my thing. There's plenty that can dish the dirt if they want. But Sean Ray seems to be a very unpopular competitor with a lot of people, shall we say. But in general, was it quite friendly backstage? Was it good rivalry, or was it quite, I don't know, because you only sort of got together a few times a year because there wasn't that many pro shows, was there?
No, the one. I mean, I wasn't very. I was quite close. Milos was a good friend of mine, and Nasser was a good friend of mine. Flex, me and Flex got on later. And we didn't not get on. I wasn't so keen. Back in the day, there were some of them that came across as a little bit arrogant. But there wasn't the camaraderie that, like, when I see Flex Lewis with all the guys backstage now, there wasn't that type of camaraderie. It was a lot more competitive than that.
So there was some genuine rivalries going on between guys backstage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some of them just didn't talk. Some of us didn't talk. We didn't say a thing. You know, like I don't think I've ever spoken to Sean Ray backstage because I heard the things they'd said about me before I even met him. So I never spoke to him once. But like me and Charlie got on well. Me and Charlie Claremont were great friends. Charles Claremont was a great guy. We travelled a lot and we had some right laughs. And I've got nothing but respect for Charles.
So when you get to the Olympia, you're qualified. You're going to the Olympia. Time to get your diaries out. Right. Where are we at with drugs at this point?
That's probably the heaviest I ever went. Obviously, because
that's what I was expecting to be. Yeah.
That's when you like pull out all the stops. I'm like,
of course it is. It's your one chance, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you still you got to remember at that point. What year was that? 95. So if I was born in 69, how old am I? 26, 25, 24, something like that. I'm not old. So I'm like, at that point, yeah, I had the kind of attitude, I'll die in a big box, that type of thing. I didn't care. Up to that point, after the Olympia, I really didn't. So like, I've got a diary here from 94, September 94. So was I doing a show then? Grand Prix. Oh, this is for the Grand Prix. Okay, so this is the year before. So this is my pro debut.
Okay, then. Well, what did we use going into that?
Okay, let me have a look. 4 weeks on, 3 weeks on. I'm gonna go from. Let me go to the beginning. Okay, so I start here. First week, 1 200 milligram Deca, 1 propionate 50, 1 Prima Depot, 1 Testaviron. That's my first day. Then 2 days later, another 200 milligram of Deca, another propionate 50, and another Prima Depot. Then 2 days later, a Sust, Prima 50, and a Prima Depot. 2 days later, this is my loading phase. This is the heavy.
Yeah.
200 milligram Deca, Prima 50, and a Prima Depot.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, these aren't massive doses.
I never put a lot in one go. I used to space them out. I'd never do like back-to-back days. I'd like every other day, every third day, every fourth day. My basic principle was to load. First 2 weeks, I'd load as heavy as I could. I think the heaviest I went to was like 3 Sust, 3 Deca a week for 2 weeks.
Which 3 Sust and 3 Deca a week, 750 a test and 600 a Deca, or 750 a Deca. That's 1.5 grams. I mean, by today's standards, there's guys in board short class, physique, using those sort of doses. Oh yeah, really? Yeah, definitely. No, seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are still top end, high end athletes, high end competitors that do use relatively low doses. That are those sort of levels. But there's a lot of amateurs banging in A lot more than that. I know British finalists that are banging in 3 times as much as that.
Wow.
So, I mean, there is a range.
Well, maybe they're not eating right or training right or sleeping right. Maybe they want to
Well,
get
that's
those
one thing we
things
haven't
right
actually
first.
discussed really is what was your diet like? Generally, what were you eating?
Let me see. I've got everything written down, man. I mean, I really do. I write everything down. I used to do, before I find it actually written out, I used to do basically 6 to 7 meals a day. My day would start out usually with oatmeal and eggs. And in the off season, I'd do like a cup and a half of oatmeal and maybe 17 eggs with maybe 10 yolks.
So you never got the memo about eggs being bad for you, then?
About 6 big spoonfuls of sugar. It was a big old meal. But I got free eggs for like 3 years. You know, when remember there was that salmonella scare years ago?
Yeah.
Well, there was a local egg farmer that asked me to do a thing on calendar. So I went there and I cracked eggs like Rocky and drank all these raw eggs. And he gave me free eggs for 3 years. So I got free eggs. So I used to buy oatmeal by the sacks and bananas by the box. And I used to, when I didn't have much money, I'd do 7 meals a day of that meal I just told you. 17 eggs, a cup of 1.5 cups of oatmeal, and about 8 spoonfuls of sugar. And I do that 7 times a day.
You never counted calories, did you? You just went on literal food volume.
Yeah, I mean, I used to eat a lot of carbohydrates. I mean, I used to joke I couldn't get out of bed on less than 350 grams of carbs a day. There's no way. I don't know how. When people tell me that big guys are telling me they're on 50 grams of carbs a day, I'm like, what is wrong? You're burning protein as calories, then, aren't you? You're burning protein as fuel. You want the protein to build muscle. Why put your kidneys and liver through all that, or your kidneys through all that stress? When you know, I think the heaviest I ever got to, I was taking in 700 grams of protein a day, but it was all from shakes. It was when I was with Kerry. I did basically, we used to mix up 700 grams of protein in a big flask, and I used to eat breakfast, a proper breakfast like oatmeal and eggs or whatever, scrambled eggs and hash browns, and I'd sip that thing every 15 minutes. Like I was probably taking in 15 grams of protein every 20-30 minutes. But I did. That's how the idea was to trickle feed, just to put it small amounts all the time. And I made sure I drank plenty of water. And I'd snack on bits of fruit and stuff during the day, but really I didn't eat. And then at night I'd have whatever I wanted. Literally, I'd have Chinese, I'd have Indian, I'd have protein and carbs. But that's the only way I jumped from, like, I was stuck at like 285, 290. I couldn't get over 300 pounds, and that's how I jumped to 320. The heaviest I ever got was 320. And that's how I
that would have been in reasonable condition as well, because you weren't renowned for getting particularly fat in the off season, were you?
I got heavy, but how tall are you, Dave?
6'1".
Yeah, so you know when you've got a frame that big, you can get away with 15% body fat as opposed to 5% body fat and still look pretty lean, you know. And if you carry more muscle, you look leaner too. So I always saw my abs were always visible. I never got fat. But yeah, I was always in decent. I could always probably dry up and do a guest spot at any given time, usually.
So what was diet like going into a show? How low did you go?
Let me see if I can find that. I was trying to find the other one for you. I never did. I got talking. I went, basically, I'd cut out the fats first. I mean, I used to joke that when my first 2 weeks of dieting, I'd stop eating fish and chips and I'd cut out my chocolate and I'd drop 10 pounds. And then I'd start, actually, I wouldn't start counting calories till 4 weeks into the diet. And I'd normally do like a 12 or 16 week diet. And then I'd start looking at I make sure my grams of protein I always counted my grams of protein. I always counted that. Never. But my carbs or fats, I didn't monitor until I dieted.
So off season, you're basically saying I'm taking in X amount of grams of protein from whatever, and then everything else I eat, I don't really care about as long as I get plenty of it in and I've still got fuel for training.
Yeah, I basically said as much as I can eat without throwing up, I would do.
There was a few guys of your era that were very similar in that approach. Get the protein in and then don't worry about the rest, just eat.
Yeah, yes, exactly how I did it. Yeah, I guess it's because maybe I want smart, I don't know, but
I don't know. The thing is, the physiques of the era were just as impressive as any of the physiques we're looking at now, and if anything, they were more impressive because there was more individuality within physiques.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
I think a lot of physiques now are very. All right, you got the exception of Ramy, who's just a genetic freak at the size he is for his height. but a vast majority of the physiques are pretty similar. You know, chop the heads off, and they're not as distinctive as they were in your era. You know, you would never go into Amelia and Nasser and yourself and all the other guys that were about. You didn't need to see a head to know exactly who it was.
You didn't need to see the whole body. You could look at an arm or a calf. I could tell you.
Yeah, and you'd still be able to pretty much say who it was. Mike Matarazzo was another one who was a monster of the time. Did you ever compete against Jean-Pierre Fuchs?
No, I retired. My last show
you'd finished before he started, wouldn't you, really?
Actually, wait a minute, did I? I remember seeing him at a competitors meeting, and maybe I did. Maybe he was in the last show I ever did, the 98 Arnold Classic. I don't know. You might have to look that up, but I think he might have been in that show. And I'd already decided that if I didn't place in the top 5 at the 98 Arnold Classic, I'd be done. But I think he might have been there because he was talking with Nasser at that show. He was good friends with Nasser.
Why did you stop? Why did you stop bodybuilding?
Several reasons. I knew back then, and Ronnie Coleman proved me wrong, to be honest with you. But if you looked in the history books back then, if you didn't place pretty highly in your first few pro shows, you weren't going to win the Olympia. If you look at Lee Haney, you look at all those Mr. Olympias, they came in blazing. And I was hoping my Night of the Champions was going to be that for me, and it didn't happen that way. And I came in, and I was placing like in the 6th, 7th, 8th. You know, I was placing right where Ronnie Coleman was at the time before he really hit it big. Just out of the money, really, which was okay. I was fine. I wasn't doing it to make a living. I made a living doing other things. But I also realized how much toll it took on my family and me. And by this time, I got a bit civilized. I got married. I had a baby girl. I had a daughter. And I didn't want to put her through me being a miserable prick when I was dieting. If I wasn't bringing home money and actually earning a living from it, you know, it wasn't really worth the hassle. So by 98, when I got to the Arnold Classic, I basically promised my wife if I didn't qualify for the Olympia at that show, I would retire. And I think I don't know where I placed, but I didn't place in the top 5, and I retired. And then I was surrounded by wrestlers, so they all talked me into wrestling because I'm stood there with this 300-pound physique, and I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with myself now. I'm a gym owner. What do I do now? So I'd done I'd done a bit of acting when I was younger, some commercials. That's how I set up my first gym. I did some Sega commercials, and I made quite a decent amount of money from them. Colin Yates put me in touch with a guy down in London, and he got me into this thing. It was for Sega. I had a big mohawk, and I was playing the computer game, and everything that happened in the game happened to me. I'll post it.
I'll have to have a look for that on YouTube. It'll be there somewhere.
It is on YouTube. It is on YouTube. It starts with some wrestling clips. It starts with some wrestling clips, then it goes to so when I'm wrestling, and then it goes to the Sega commercials, and then it finishes off with another wrestling clip or a bodybuilding from the Olympia. I think it's like my old promo that I used to send out to fans and stuff like that. But yeah, I did these. So I thought, well, I've done a bit of acting, and I got into bodybuilding through judo. My dad taught judo for all his life, and I did that from like age 6 or 7. So I could take a bump, I could fall. I knew how to, you know, I knew basics of judo and martial arts. So I knew Drew McDonald trained at my gym, and I knew a lot of guys in the Leeds area, Danny Collins, that were all wrestlers, and they taught me to wrestling. So I started going down to Rill every weekend and wrestling for 70 quid a match. So how the mighty fall, walking on the Olympia stage in the Arnold Classic, being ranked at the top, I don't know, 15 bodybuilders in the world, and then suddenly I'm in Real Town Hall doing coming out as Mr. USA.
You must have looked quite phenomenal on the English wrestling scene at that size, though, because there wasn't really many wrestlers that were bodybuilding big, were there? I mean, there were plenty like Shirley and Haystacks that were big guys.
That's the only reason they paid me 70 quid. Wrestling would get 50.
Oh, so you got the big money then?
Yeah, I got the big bucks because I looked decent. I couldn't wrestle for shit at the time.
So have you, I mean, obviously you spoke about the L-Dactone problem that you had that could quite easily have cost you your life. Have you ever had any other similar instances where you've had problems that have gone down very dark passages very quickly?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When my pro debut, this is all kind of a reason why I quit as well, because it was got in a bad place mentally. I was very intense about what I did. So I'm like, my pro debut was the Night of the Champions, '93, and I'd had the gym, and I'd gone through like a personal issue with someone, and then I couldn't sleep at all with the diet. I think it was mainly the diet, the clean, super, no fat diet. When you don't have any fat, you can't sleep. And I got to a point where I wasn't sleeping at all. I was sleeping for about 2 hours a night, literally for 3 months. I thought I was going to have a mental breakdown. So I started trying anything to sleep. And I ended up, nothing worked. I tried at the time GHB was big. I tried that. It worked to a certain extent, but it never really gave me the sleep I needed. And in the end, I ended up using something that I didn't really know what it was, and that's not like me. But when you're that deprived of sleep, you don't really think straight. You don't make logical decisions. And I used a thing called Hypnoval, and it turned out it was actually anesthetic. And I ended up, I don't know for how long I used it, maybe three months, 6 months, something like that. But that took me down a dark path, and I ended up, my wife, thankfully, God bless her, got me off it, told me she were leaving if I didn't, so I stopped it. It made me sleep all right, but looking back, it could have made me sleep. I'm lucky. I'm alive looking back, you know. But yeah, and that's sleep deprivation, to be honest with you.
Did you have issues mentally? I mean, when you look at what top end bodybuilders put themselves through in the gym and with the diets and everything else, you're supposed to a degree you've got to question the state of mind. I mean, I know I've questioned my own state of mind about why the fuck am I doing this shit?
Yeah, often. I mean, I used to call it every workout temporary insanity or controlled insanity. You can't really, I mean, if you think about it really logically, when you're at the end of a set and you're really digging, why are you doing it? Why are you putting yourself...
It goes against human nature, doesn't it? Because you're putting yourself in a position of extreme pain and discomfort, which is not naturally where we want to be.
Absolutely. And I was at the mindset when I was younger, and honestly, right up to the Olympia. The Olympia took the steam out of me. When I didn't place high in the Olympia, because I looked really good at that Olympia. The video that's out is from the night show, and after that, I didn't give a fuck. I was still eating pizza backstage. But the pre-judging, I looked incredible, and they didn't give me a look in. They didn't compare me with anybody. So that was kind of when I was done. Mentally, I was checked out after that 95 Olympia. So the rest of my career was kind of, you know. But I was so extreme when it got to the end of a set. That's when I started laughing. I would almost like, you know, like a boxer that gets hit. Just hit me again. Come on, how much?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're exactly the same. You've got to have that. You don't give a flying fuck what happens. You'll die. You're going to go further than anybody goes, than anybody can go, and than anybody expects you to go. If anybody told me how to do 2 more reps inside, I'd be like, fuck you too. I'm doing 3, 4. That was just mentality.
Was it that defiant, almost adolescence streak of being a rebel that drove you through those later sets, or was this motivation?
No, that I don't know why, because I was actually a good kid. I wasn't a rebellious kid, but I was very anti-establishment as I got older. Most kids get in trouble when they're younger and then calm down as they get older. I was calm when I got younger, and the older I get, the worse I get. I get less tolerant. I do. It's true.
Cantankerous old git is, I think, the phrase, mate.
I get less tolerant. I don't tolerate fools. If somebody's talking shit, I won't even say I'm leaving. I'll just turn around and walk away. I mean, I have no time for it. Life's too short.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, like you say, what have you got to prove as well? You've done the walk, you've done the talk. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. But I was just, you know, certain people respond to almost a positive encouragement, where others respond. I've always been very negative. Tell me I can't do it.
Yeah,
go on, just tell me I can't fucking do it.
Yeah,
which is what motivated a lot of my stupidness. Is you can't get the 400 pound. Fuck it, I'll show you what I can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely got that in me. It's an anti-establishment. You know, if you tell me I'm going to stand up, yeah, I've got to stand up. I'm going to sit down. If you tell me I've got to walk, I'm going to run. You know, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. But that's not a good thing if you're trying to compete in the AFBB as a professional bodybuilder.
No, because you've got to play the line to a degree, haven't you? And I know people. There is an element of paying your dues to some extent. I don't know if it's as prevalent now as it used to be, but definitely back then, if you faced him fit, you weren't going where you needed to go.
Well, put it this way: after the Olympia in '95, I did the Grand Prix tour, and we went to Madrid, Spanish Grand Prix, and I placed me, Paul Di Meola, Chris Cormier, Flex Wheeler, everybody really, Ronnie. I think Ronnie was there, and I placed 8th, I believe. So after that show, we got invited to a meal with Rafael Santana, and me and Paul Di Meola told him to fuck himself. And we stayed in the hotel room and threw all our diet food out the window, started drinking Gatorade, because everybody else was eating McDonald's and taking Lasix. We weren't doing that. We were on our diet. The following day, I looked like shit, went to Germany, placed 7th, same lineup. Don't know how I placed better because I looked worse. The next day, went to England, I placed 6th. That was Wayne trying to redeem himself for not placing me in the top 6 the first time I did the English Grand Prix. And he knew I was going to an English crowd, but in honesty, Eddie Elwood looked better than me at that show. I was in terrible condition at that show because I didn't give a shit at that point. I was done. So I've seen the politics both sides. I've seen it work against me.
And you've seen it actually reward you, yeah.
Yeah, you know, when I didn't deserve to get in the top 6 at the English Grand Prix, they did. And then when I did, you know, when I should have placed well, they didn't place me well. And it was all down to where you were performing, who you performing in front of, what would sell tickets. Which
was there ever any sponsor influence in placings?
Not to my knowledge, no. No, the Weeders weren't involved in it. It was all Wayne D'Amelia, and it was all about what the fans expected and what was going to put. It was it's a businessman. It's what's going to put us on seats.
Yeah, what's going to put revenue through the door.
Yeah, that's why when I went to wrestling, I understood the business straight away because I come from what I thought was a sport. It wasn't. It was a business.
Yeah.
And then I went to wrestling, and it was up front. It was a business.
How did you handle that placing at the English Grand Prix when you got 6, but you knew deep down you didn't deserve it?
When I went up to Wayne the day after my pro debut, you mean?
No. Well, you just said then you placed 6 after the '95 Olympia. You did the tour.
Yeah.
You placed 6 at the British Grand Prix, but you knew you looked a sack of shit.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I thought it was disgusting. It works both ways. It shouldn't. If I didn't deserve it, I shouldn't have got it. And
did you say anything?
I did. Actually, I did. Not to Wayne D'Amelia because that had fallen on deaf ears. But I remember walking out of the show through Nottingham, and Eddie Elwood was sat there with his whole family eating a meal. So I walked up to Eddie and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Eddie, you looked incredible today. You should have beaten me." Fair play.
You know, credit to you, mate. Credit to you.
I have a lot of respect for people that credit where credit's due. But I don't think people should get credit if they're not the best on the day, they shouldn't win. I always say you should compete with a brown paper bag on your head and come on as a number.
Some of them need brown paper bags, and it's not for any other reason. So we're wrestling now, and you're wrestling in the UK at this stage. So when do we go to America?
My son had just been born. He was born in July. I think we left in January 2000 or 2001. And we went to California first. Couldn't get any work wrestling because obviously I got into America as a bodybuilder. By this time I'd retired. Now I'm a wrestler. So I'm trying to find work as a wrestler in California. Couldn't really find any. Didn't really know anybody. I got in touch with Bushwhacker Luke in Florida here. So I came over to visit, got some work, and we moved to Florida. And it's more affordable. I prefer the climate here. I love it. I love it in Florida. And I wrestled, going to Puerto Rico once a month. I got a contract. I had more money out of wrestling than I did bodybuilding, to be honest with you.
Doesn't surprise me. It was a big money sport, though, wasn't it? I mean, guys that weren't top of the tree could still earn very good livings at wrestling. It was a massive sport over there.
I was in the right place at the right time. I had Jimmy Hart as my manager. I had all these famous 80s wrestlers, Knobs and Sags and the Road Warriors and Kurt Hennig. Remember Mr. Perfect? He was a good friend of mine. He actually died the night before I was going to main event with him right here in Tampa. He overdosed on Somers and cocaine the night before. And, so that was one of the deaths one year. And then I wrestled for TNA once live, and I got offered a contract with them, turned that down. Stayed loyal to XWF, which about 6 months later nearly folded. So after all those deaths, I just decided to walk away. and then I started getting into real estate then.
Now you still run your gym, don't you?
Yeah. I opened that 10 years ago. It's very much like my old gym in England, to be honest with you. I say it to be just like it. I've even made it look like my old gym in England. It's about 7,000 square feet, hardcore, hammer strength. I ain't got massive dumbbells because I don't go heavy anymore. And there's not many guys that really honestly can do them. But they go to like 120s. But it's a good gym. I have an Olympic lifting section. One of my coaches is an ex-Olympic lifting coach. He's got actually the best teenage Olympic lifter in the States trains at my gym. And then we have like just a regular gym, a regular old school English gym. It's not a big commercial gym. And I have a business partner, which is great. Business is good. I work 4 days a week. Don't kill myself.
Still training, obviously.
Yeah, I love to train. I enjoy training. If I don't have injuries, I train. Sometimes I'll get a bee in my bonnet and go heavy. Sometimes, usually I go kind of moderate. About 50-60%. It's just the eating I didn't like, Dave. I mean, I've never stopped training. I just stopped eating 7-8 meals a day.
Have you ever been tempted to come back? We've seen a lot of ex-pros having comebacks now. You ever been tempted to have a go?
Why would I? What's that? I don't understand the mentality, to be honest.
Got nothing to prove, nothing to lose. So what's the point? Yeah.
Unless you think you can bring back something better than you did before, but to just come back no. My knees are pretty bad from my old injuries. I could never get my legs to where they were. I could probably get my upper body to where it was, but I don't have the desire. I'm too civilized now. Once you get civilized, you can't really. It's like once you get civilized, you're finished. It's like really. That's another reason why I retired. I mean, the first thing I used to think about when I woke up on a morning, and the last thing I thought about before I went to bed was how I could grow. And once I thought about my wife and my kid rather than how much I could grow, I knew it was over. To be honest.
So what's your training style? Have you got a training style, or has it always been pretty much just balls to the walls, or is it high volume, low volume, high frequency? Do you actually pertain to any of these training styles, or are you very much just a case of how I felt on the day?
No, I keep my workouts short. My workouts are never more than 30 to 40 minutes. Legs will be the longest one just for recovery time between body parts. But I actually came up with a theory that works perfect for me, and it's not many people do it. It's because I got injured at such a young age. At 17, I was squatting 620 for 12 reps like an idiot. Not asked to the ground ones like Billy Payne. He used to give me shit out for that all the time. But I
remember though. Billy was what, 5'8", 5'9"?
You're not comparing apples and apples. The leverage system.
When his leg was at parallel, his hamstring was hanging off his fucking calf, so you didn't really have a lot of choice.
Exactly. But I used to go about to 90 degrees parallel. But I ended up with major knee surgery at 17, and I got told I could never squat again. I would probably never walk it properly again, and I had to agree to stop training. Obviously, I didn't. The first day.
Obviously, you listened.
Yeah, I went and passed out. I went in a wheelchair. It's what's it called now? That one up near Seacroft, near Roundy. I've forgotten the name of the hospital. St James's. I was in St James's.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I went to the basement where the gym is and passed out bench pressing the day after my surgery. So the surgeon's there tapping his notes saying, "I thought you told me you'd quit training." I said, "What are you going to do? Unoperate?" So anyway, I didn't listen to anything he said, and I figured out I had to find a way to train where I couldn't squat heavy anymore. So what I did, I never squatted again. To be honest with you, I did hack squats last, but I always did them last. I pre-exhausted everything, and it worked so well for my lower body. I started using that style for my upper body. So basically, when I did legs, I started with calves. I do like a seated calf and a standing calf for my soleus gastrocnemius, and where that ties into my knee, that'd warm up my hamstring indirectly. And then I go to my leg curls, an isolation move for hamstrings, and I'd blitz the hamstring in the isolation move. Then I would go to my compound move for hamstrings. So it'd be a stiff-legged deadlift, bent knee hyperextension, probably a stiff-legged deadlift. I was big on stiff-legged deadlifts. I was strong on them. On the platform.
I used to enjoy them. These days they don't exist. No one does stiff-legged anymore. Everything's bent knees and all sorts of bollocks.
Oh,
the stiff leg's a stiff leg.
Well, I used to do a lot of them, so that'd be my fourth movement. So now my calves and hamstrings are done. Then I do my leg extensions, and I drop set, I'd force reps. All these isolation moves, I do force reps and drop sets on them to total failure. And then my final movement would be my hack squat. So by the time I got to the hack squat, my legs are like jello, my body weight's heavy, and I'd maybe go to 4, 5, 6 plates aside, but I do 16 reps. I would never went low reps, and that's the only way that I actually could do anything and be able to walk. My knees would still be sore.
6, 7 plates aside on a hack is no light hack squat. Let's be serious here. That's still some damn good weight.
Yeah, it's decent, but if I'd have started with it, I could have done a lot more, but then I'd have had that extra weight on my knee joints. So the theory was if I did it last, I didn't need as much weight, and my quads feel like it was 10 plates or 15 plates. And that's how I got my muscles to respond, and it worked so well for my legs. I was known for my legs and my back. And I used the same principle in both of them. You know, I did a lot of chins for back. My back workout was based around chins and rows. I did 2 basic movements.
Not a big deadlifter then?
No, I didn't like that. I got all my stiff-legged. I got all my deadlifting from my stiff-legged deadlifts. Regular deadlifts, I made my ass completely out of proportion. I could stand a pint pot on my ass if I did too much deadlifting. It got ridiculous. So I kind of backed off the regular deadlifts, and I didn't want to widen my waist. I always feel like heavy deadlifting widens your waist, and as a pure bodybuilder, I wanted to keep my waist as small as possible. That was my. I mean, I didn't win the British because I was the biggest. I won it because I had lines that I know what my strengths and my weaknesses were. So I figured if I could add the extreme mass to those lines, I could. You know, I mean, ultimately, my goal was to win the Mr. Olympia. I didn't just want to be a professional bodybuilder. I wanted to win. And I retired because I knew I wasn't going to win.
Fair enough. Any regrets?
No, none. Not one. I don't have any regrets. I enjoyed it. It was great. I got out at the right time for me. Did I fulfill my potential? No. Could I have got a lot better? Yeah. But I wasn't willing to pay the price.
Yeah, I mean, there is that element, isn't it? You know, I could, but at what cost?
Yeah, well, not worth it to me. I'm very happy, you know. And I'm healthy. Touch wood that I know of. I'm healthy.
Yeah. Doing better than me, mate. Let's put it that way.
I don't know.
And I've got nowhere near the list of achievements. Well, Ian, it's been wonderful talking to you. I genuinely enjoyed this. Breath of fresh air. And a bit of a walk down memory line with us both coming from the same area and knowing 2 of the old characters.
Yeah.
I was talking to the old characters. I can't remember his name now. You may not remember. There used to be a black guy who used to train. He used to compete. Always competed at battle. He always walked on stage pissed out of his head.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah.
Drink a bottle of Jack Daniels before he went on stage, and his wife was the loudest person in the audience.
Oh, there was some incredible characters. There was a guy that used to be at Battle Variety Club, and he changed his name by default to Joe Weider. And he came out with big glasses on, and he was white as a sheet, never trained a day in his life. And
I remember this guy. Yes.
He'd wiggle his ass every year, and he competed every year at the Battle Variety Club, and he was called Joe.
He looked like Joe 90, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was hilarious. What characters, man? What characters?
The Frontier is no more, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, I heard that. It's changed a lot.
It's now a DW gym.
Oh wow.
I was privileged to be there for the closing party. That place has seen some life over the years.
Oh, damn right. Some fights as well.
Yes. Yeah, some of the bodybuilding contests as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, we definitely wore his heart on his sleeves back then, didn't we?
Yeah. There were no filters.
Characters.
You see, they said what they thought, and they thought what they said. You know, it was what it was. I think that's why we do so well when we go elsewhere. You know, because not many people are like that. That mentality is not. I mean, over here, a lot of these Americans think I'm mental. I'm not, but I think I am.
Straight. Well, maybe a little bit, mate. Maybe a little bit, but in a good way.
Slightly. Not in a bad way, though.
You know, if you describe the way you approach training, I think plenty of people might say you're a little bit mental, to be honest. But it's just it's the era we come from at the end of the day, isn't it?
That's why I got taught. Tom Platz was my idol, and the people around me were like I say, you weren't respected by how hard you trained and how far you were willing to push it.
Okay, couple more questions before we finish. Have just popped into my head.
All right.
Who's the bodybuilder you most admire from your era and now?
From a physique point of view or a personality?
Well, both. Do person and do physique. Let's do it as two separate things.
Physique, Flex Wheeler, in my opinion, is the best physique I've ever seen close up. The one that made my mouth drop open the most. NASA was the biggest. Dorian was incredible, but I don't think he was flawless. Flex, put it this way, when I looked at everybody, I thought with time I could beat them all. When I looked at Flex Wheeler, I didn't know if I could.
Right, fair enough.
I'd look at Flex Wheeler, and I didn't mean I could beat them all then, but I felt like I had the potential.
But you had the potential to beat them, yeah.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but the Flex Wheeler, you looked at him just from a genetic standpoint, and it was incredible. I mean, he was just his joints were like this, and his muscle bellies came out, and he went back to a tiny joint, and you can't train for that. You can't.
No, you can't. No, that's God's gift, isn't it? Unfortunately.
And that, in my opinion, I don't know. I want to compete it again if I had that. I thought he was the best physique I've ever seen in person. From a personality standpoint, I'd say probably NASA was one of my favourite people. He was a really good guy. I was very sad when he passed. And I'd say Tom Platz is one of my favourite people because I admire intensely his passion, and he inspired me incredibly. I always said I want to.
Seem a genuinely good guy as well. I mean, I've never had the privilege of meeting the guy, but from what you read and see, he does seem to be a genuinely decent guy.
Incredible. I met him when I was 16 at Ossett Town Hall for a seminar. Blew my mind. Bought his book, got it signed. I met him 8 years later in Essen in Germany. I was at the Metrex booth with Milos Sarchez. Just about to sign I think it was 94, right before I was going to do the Olympia. And I got up and I started talking to him. I said, "You won't remember me. I met you in Ossett Town Hall." And I don't know if he was lying, but he was damn good at it if he did. And he said he remembered me from when I was 16. I did pester him. I mean, I was a pain in his ass, like, but I did stick in his mind. But no, a genuinely good guy, and a good friend of mine, Bez from Worksop, trained with him for a while, and his intensity is just unbelievable. That to me, that's having guts to go that far. Not many people do. Not many people have the balls to go that far in a set. They might pretend they're going that far, but to really dig that deep, not many people have got it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It's like
sorry, go on. I interrupted. Go on. You were going to say.
It's like it's like you can see the fight in someone. I think in Pumping Iron, Mike Katz said there's two types of dog. One that you kick and it'll bite you. One that kick and it'll cower down. And you can see that in a gym. You can see the personality in someone in a gym when you really push them, really corner them, and they're in so much pain. They either want to get out, or they want to be at home eating cookies, or they get pissed off and they'll dig. And there's one or the other. There's no middle ground with that. And the ones that are really willing to push are few and far between. And I hear that bodybuilders are less like that more and more nowadays. So I don't know.
There are a few with outstanding physiques that train hard. I see a lot that train hard ineffectively. Lots of sweating, lots of throwing weight around, but no real connection with what they're doing at all.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I remember you taking me through a set of leg extensions. We discussed this the other day in Budsey, and you just moved my feet a couple of inches, and it was like, holy fuck, who set my legs on fire, you know?
Yeah.
And it was that Billy indirectly to some degree was very influential because I trained with Billy when I was 16, so I got that sort of hardcore attitude coming through a little bit. But then you, in a way of looking for more pain, looking for more stimulus, trying to create more intense exercises, taking a basic movement and playing with it till you found a version of it at a tempo or a rep speed or whatever it was that just made it light the world up, sort of thing.
Exactly. I still do that. I do that with my clients that I train. I use all those techniques because I see a lot of people. I mean, in deepest respect, even people like Tom Platz. And the forms I use are not the forms he uses. Don't work for me. But the intensity does. Basic principle of the intensity. But when I do a leg extension, I don't point my toes. I flex my toes back. Because when I had my knee surgeries, the first thing the surgeon had me do was have my legs straight and keep pulling my toe back to flex the vastus medialis and tighten my knee up. So I use that principle in my training after that point. At the top of every leg extension, I pulled my toes back, leant forward, and squeezed my quad to try and make it cramp on every rep of every set. And at the bottom of the movement, I didn't bounce. I didn't use momentum. I tried to eliminate inertia. I tried to eliminate momentum completely from every movement. So every time I lifted a weight, I was lifting a dead weight. The muscle was.
And it was the muscle that moved the weight, not the tendon or the skeletal brain, which is exactly how I approach it.
Because I had the injury at such a young age, I couldn't afford another injury, and I couldn't afford the stress on the joint. So to eliminate that stress on the joint, I lower it, stop it. Now, most people, before they bring it up, they're going to try and go, boom. I don't. Yeah. I go, stop, like I'm going against a concrete block, and then I leave.
And you let the muscle pull it out of the hole instead of letting any tendon
doing everything. The more the muscle does, the earlier it's going to fail. The earlier it fails, the better it is, because you get to failure, then you do your force reps and your negatives. If you do 16 reps, you're going to be doing 20, 30 reps if you include negatives. You should be failing on 6, 7. And then you start your set.
Yeah, I remember that mentality. You're warmed up now, lad. Time to work. Yeah. We know you warmed up. Why? Because you just puked up. Now you're ready to do a set.
I remember having a lad in Body Balance, and he was a rugby player. And he said to me, he says, I never throw up. It doesn't matter what I do. I said, really? I said, come on Saturday and train legs with me. So he came in on Saturday, and they brought a crowd of people with him. I bought a bucket, and I wrote his name on it, and I gave him it. He says, what's that for? I said, you're going to need it in about 5 fucking minutes. Third set of leg extension. The third set of leg extensions, I did drop sets, force reps, negatives, trying to hold the top, everything.
Yeah.
He was on his hands and knees in the parking lot throwing up. On the third set of leg extensions, I said, fucking hell, we've got axe squats to do, we've got RDLs to do, we've got a lot to do, mate. And it was done. So yeah, I was intense.
Yeah, it's definitely a style of training that sorts the men from the boys. There's no assurance of that. And modern day physiques, who would you rate now? Do you even really follow it now, or is it just a passing interest?
I've just started following it, to be honest with you. I look at. I went to the NABBA Universe last year, and I was absolutely. I had the best time. It was awesome. It was like going back to an old family. Do you know what I mean? I spent half the day. I spent half the day with tears in my eyes. And I'm not ashamed to say it, because it was like some of these people had not seen me since I was 18, 19. They didn't even know I was bald. You know what I mean? To see Eddie Elwood was brilliant. It was awesome. But there was a guy there who won the tall class, Fabian Meyer, and I thought he was incredible. I thought he looked, to me, that's bodybuilding. I'm a bit old school. I love mass. I respect mass. But it's bodybuilding. You should have a taper. You should have a sweep to your thigh.
I mean, we've talked about all the hardcore and insane training, but you were still very conscious of your lines. You were still very conscious of keeping your waist small, of creating that illusion with the shoulders and the flare from the sweep on the leg. So even though there's that brutal approach to training, it's not without its finesse.
Oh no, I was brutal in the areas I needed to grow and add muscle. And I never trained abs. I trained abs intentionally 6 weeks out from a show, and I intentionally overtrained them to try and lose muscle. If I train chest every day, it's going to get smaller. So I figured if I train abs every day, they'll get smaller. And I did. I used to lose like an inch on my waist up to a show. And it wasn't fat, it was muscle, because I'd train them every day. But I specifically geared my intensity to the body parts that were lagging. My delts were always an issue for me. I don't think you can ever have delts that too big. I was a tall guy. I've got long limbs. My legs were good. My back was good, but I needed more thickness in my chest and my shoulders. My arms could have been bigger. But you know, I mean, you can go on forever. But I think, you know, when I did the Olympia, like 279, 280, I looked good that year. I just they didn't want my time.
I mean, that's a weight that's going to stack up with any modern bodybuilder. 280 on stage is an impressive weight.
Yeah, I guess. And I started a waistline at that too. I had a good waistline at In fact, the picture I've got as my profile picture. Oh no, I tried to set up Skype earlier, but that's from the Olympia double bicep shot. And my waist was probably not much over 30 inches when I was 280. So I still had a decent taper, but you know, it is what it is. Like I say, I don't have any regrets. I'm almost glad it happened the way it happened, because otherwise I'd have been doing it longer and I'd probably have had issues.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're getting back into bodybuilding now, but in a different way, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, the bottom line is I stopped it a long time ago, but I still love bodybuilding. Even though it's changed a lot, I guess you've got to just move with the times. And when I came over to the NABBA universe last year, it really sparked my interest in just really wanting to get involved in bodybuilding again, because I love it. I tried to get involved in NABBA over here, but nothing's really happening. There was too much stuff in the way really over here. And then I've been talking to Ryan Alexander since I came back from England last year. And he's a very intelligent man, and I love what they're doing. I think it's amazing.
I know Ryan well.
Yeah, he seems like a very. I love his approach. It's up front. It's not about lining your pockets. It's about actually growing it for the sport, for the good of the sport, and not trying to compete, trying to collaborate with everybody. And I think the fitness industry is changing like it's never changed before. And I think in the next couple of years, it's going to continue to change. And to be given the opportunity to do it here with the biggest market in the world, I think I'd be an idiot to pass it up. So I'm going to,
For those that haven't realised, Ian is going to be running the American branch of the PCA.
Yes.
So, is the first show the Ian Harrison Classic by any chance?
No, I am not arrogant to put my name on it. No, there's no way.
Oh, don't be daft. It's not arrogance. You've heard that right, mate. You've heard that right.
Ian Harrison, who the hell's that? No, I'll probably get a sponsor and have it titled after a sponsor, but I'm looking at next late June or mid-July. Late July, early August of next year. And it's going to be in Lakeland, which is about an hour away from me, but it's right in the middle of Florida. So anybody from north, south, east, or west, it's very centrally located. You know, it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to make it. I want to live up to the expectations that the PCA have already created, the standard they've already created, and keep that going over here. You know.
And you do coaching online as well, don't you?
I don't do a lot of it. I have done it with people, but I don't get any requests for it, to be honest with you. If anybody's interested, if anybody's interested, I do it. I haven't really done it. I've done it with a couple of clients that I've had that I've got ready for shows, and then they've moved away, and I've kept in contact with them like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to it. I have time, you know.
So have you got any contact details you want to put out there on this video so people can get in touch with you?
The best is to probably get hold of me on Facebook.
Okay.
Look me up on Facebook and friend request me, and we can do everything from there on Messenger or something like this, Skype or something.
Okay, folks. So there you go. You want to get in touch with Ian about any personal training or anything of that nature? Get hold of him on Messenger.
Maybe that's why I don't have clients. I'm very professional, right?
Yes, that dedicated website is amazing, Ian. It's brilliant. All right, mate. I'm just going to stop the recording now.
All right.